Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Skylark, aka Boy Skylark, and I am your teacher today. Today we're going to go over a trend that I've been seeing a lot on TikTok and Instagram Reels, and that is color blocking your face. So if you didn't know, there is a process in the artistic community called color blocking or color sectioning your face. And it is because the human face has a lot of different color and variation and undertone in it. Now, I will show you guys this because I keep it saved for my own purposes because it's a very good reference, but I will say that I did learn this from another YouTuber. I do not remember her username, but I learned it from her, and she specifically works with marker. And when you work with marker, you don't have a lot of leeway with layers and opacity and stuff like that. So you kind of have to get creative on how you show depth within the face. And the way that she would do it is she would do her, here it is. She would do her face, she would draw her face, and then she would do color zoning. That's what it's called. She would do the color zoning for the face with colored pencil. So, I'm going to show you guys this so that you guys understand what I mean and why I'm so, upset about it. So, this is an example of color zoning on a sculpture made out of marble. So, what you're seeing on the top is what I'm seeing a lot of on TikTok and Reels. You're seeing a lot of the yellow is at the top and the blue is at the bottom, and that's not how the human face works. That's not going to show any depth. That's not going to show any form. That's not going to show any saturation within the face. Like, it's not going to show the colors in those specific areas of the face, and that's why it looks so funny. So, I'm going to go through and show you how I color zone certain faces based off of age, based off of skin tone, based off of, just facial structure, because a lot of people seem to have this concept that it's yellow at the top, red in the middle, blue at the bottom. Let's see. So I will start with saying that these zones are not just one size fits all. It's different for everybody. So you're going to see people that are older that have more yellow in their face because the plumpness and the blood circulation is not reaching their face as much anymore, so they're going to have a lot more like yellow and blue tones in their face. You're going to see a lot of younger people with a lot more blue and red tones in their face because their faces are still very chubby, very plump. You're going to see a lot of people in the young adult to middle age kind of area with a lot more red and yellow in their face because the skin is a little bit more taut. The skin, as well as like the cheeks and the fattier parts of the face are a little bit more full. This also goes for around the mouth and around the eyes and the actual lips themselves. So I'm gonna start with this young man down here. I think his name is Evan. I could be very wrong about that, but I'm going to start with him and go through and show you how I would color zone his face. So, let's do this. I have my primaries saved somewhere. There they are. Okay. So, first things first. Let's do this first and explain why it's so difficult to get the colors that you want when you are trying to color mix in a digital program. One, digital programs do not work based off of pigment. They work based off of light. So the colors in a digital program are based off of the light in your screen. So that's why you're not going to mix a green mix a green out of a blue and a yellow when you are doing that. So if you look over to the left side of your screen, I'm going to just do this really quick. red, yellow, blue, blue. So no matter what you do, if you mix a yellow light with a blue light, you're not going to get green. That mostly works only in pigments. But if you mix a red light with a yellow light, you'll get orange. If you mix a blue light with a red light, you'll get purple. But if you mix a blue light with a yellow light, you're going to get this like purpley gray kind of color. To this kind of like orangey color. And then if you mix all of them together, you'll get like a red-violet. So, that's just what I wanted to point out, and that is why you won't get like a green. That's also why you'll get this kind of like green tone in some people's skin. It's because the bluer area of their skin's undertone is close to the yellow area of their skin's undertone. The more you know. Okay. So let's start. I'm only going to use a soft brush for this because it's a lot easier than trying to, what is the word? Than trying to like blend everything out. Okay, so I'm going to start with red and mark out the more red areas of this young man's face. I definitely saw a lot of red in his nose. And I'd carry that up a little bit. Like that. He also had some red around his eyes, mostly under. So I would put that there. And I'd make it a little bit more saturated. Just for the aesthetic that I prefer to go for. He definitely had some in his cheeks, but his cheeks were very flat, so I would bring it down kind of like a contour from the top of the ear in towards the mouth, but not all the way. I leave it like right here on the cusp part of the cheek, like the apples of the cheek, that's the word. Next, there was a lot of red in his bottom lip, but not his top. So that's where I would put that. And just for aesthetic purposes, I usually put some red in the ears. Because you will get that bounce light where these parts, like the cartilage parts of the skin, are a lot more transparent than the non-cartilage parts. Alright, next I'm going to go to yellow. And yellow I typically use for the thinner parts of the skin. So that skin on the bridge of the nose. Sometimes the skin right by the nose and under the eye. So right in here. And the skin definitely on the forehead. For him, I think I would do yellow at the bottom of the ears, as well as under the corners of the mouth. Not over, just under, and only like the smallest amount possible. Then I would move over to blue, which would fill up the other areas of the face. So he definitely had deep set, not starkly deep set, but it was very deep in the eye here and here, like right above the corner of the eye. And I would even pull that out towards the corner of the eye underneath, kind of like the bags of the eye. He definitely had it in the hollows of his cheek. Like that. And if you find that like the softness isn't there anymore, just grab your blending tool and blend it. It works. I would also venture to put it above the corners of his lip and under the nose. Not all the way down to the lip, but just under the nose. Also, the top lip was a little blue, so I would add there. Where else? Where else? Where else? You can't really see this area of his face, but like here in the temples, I would add a little bit of blue. And then anything left over, I would just leave blank. I'm gonna add it right here towards the end of the eye as well. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow there. And I think that's pretty good. I'll add a little bit more blue to the hollows on the cheek of the right side though. I'd also looking at it now, I'd venture to add a little bit of yellow on the chin. Just like that. And when you go through and you decide you're ready to start coloring, I'm just going to grab a color from my color palette. His skin was very cool and dark, so I'm going to use this. And it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to do. Right. And I'll clean it up on the outside. All right. So you can very clearly see the colors, and we don't want that. We want the colors to be as blended into the skin as possible. So I usually take that layer where I'm doing the color zoning and I'll set it to overlay, and then I'll lower it down. And if it's still very stark, just go in and kind of blend it out into the different areas. And there you go. You kind of have a better look at how the colors blend into the skin. If you zoom out, you can see it better as well. Okay. That's pretty good. So I'm going to leave that, I'll say 35. And I'll put it back to overlay once I'm done. But I am going to turn it back all the way to 100 so we can do another face together. So I will do this girl's face. It's like I'm working backwards. I'm going to do this girl's face. She is a fat woman, so she has a lot of fat gathered under her chin, and that is a great example of what I'm going to show you guys. So, a lot of fatty areas on the face, including the fat under the chin, has a lot of blood flow. So you're going to see people with fat, like chubbier cheeks or double chins or any fat on their body. Those areas are usually going to be a lot more red because the blood flow is circulating very heavily in there. Where the chin is more prominent, you're going to see it be yellow because, again, that skin is very taut. That skin is very tight to the muscle. So for her, I'm going to hop over. I'm going to grab my red. I'm going to start with my red again. So for her, her lips were a big area that was just all red for me. Under her chin, again, like I just said, the fatty areas are usually more red than not. If you need to clean it up, go ahead and just set the brush color to transparent. I'm also going to add this under here, because while her cheeks were not prominent to the point where I had to draw them, they were still prominent enough to see. So I will add, like I am blushing somebody for the first time, under the apples of the cheek, carry into the hollows of the cheek, which she does not have. I would also do her nose very, very little at the bottom. Her nose is very large and prominent, and when you have a bigger nose like that, the color of the cartilage will show through more, and cartilage typically if you have ever seen cartilage outside of the body, it's typically yellow, and the thing that makes it like a reddish orange color is blood. Um, so her nose was very large and pronounced, so I'm gonna make that more yellow when I get to the yellow. I'm also going to add a little bit more red under her eyebrow bridge right there. And I think that's it for red. I think those are my major red areas. Next is the yellow, obviously. We're going to do the chin. And the nose, like I said. And we're going to carry that up to the forehead. So that's going to be her whole, the T-zone, as they call it in the beauty world. And that's going to carry up from that point, the arch of her eyebrow, up to her hairline. That's where that's going to carry. Right? We're also going to do, again, very little under her eyes here. Not like Evan, where we kind of carried it out further. We're going to keep that as minimal as possible. I'm also going to add it to the front of her eyebrows. So you can see the opposite of Evan, because his eyebrows were deep set in the front part of his eyebrows. Hers are not. They were it was very flat. Make sure we get that in there. I'm also going to add the yellow underneath the corners of the lip. And I think that's it. Now we can move on to blue. Right. So for blue, it's a little easier because she does not have as much deep setting in her eyes, in her face. So I'm going to just kind of keep it as minimal as possible. I'm going to add it to the temples, which are these two upper corners here. I'm going to add it a little bit on the cheek above where I put the red, and a lot below. A lot in comparison to the upper part is what I mean. Like that. And then I'm going to add the deep set blue under the eye a little bit. And then in between that yellow and red, right on the eyebrow. Very little. So, we can tell that a younger, skinnier face is going to have a bit more blue because things are a little bit more sunken in, a little bit more hollow, especially if they are a thin person. If they are a chunkier person, then you're going to see a lot more red and a lot more yellow because the skin is going to be a little bit more taut in those more like connected places like the chin, the nose, the sinus area, and the forehead. Whereas with a thinner person, those taut areas kind of blend with the not taut areas. So you're going to see a lot more blue and yellow where it's very like prominent, like the skin is connected. So you'll see the yellow in those big zones, the T-zone, the chin, a little bit above the lip, the ears, stuff like that. And then you'll see the red in the areas that really don't lose a lot of fat. So the cheeks and the nose, a little bit under the eyes, and the ears, where blood flow is going to be more prominent. Let's go to Afitenza. Afitenza, I think is her username. So her face stuck out to me because it has a lot more forehead that we can work with. So I'm going to take the red again, start with the red, and then work our way to the blue. And I'm just going to start going in how I did before. Not going to explain it this time because I want to try and get through it as fast as possible. All right. I am going to explain this because, like I said, she has a very large, prominent forehead. Um, so what I'm doing is I'm going to follow her anatomy. Her forehead was a lot more round, not as angular. She didn't have pronounced temples or anything like that, so it was all very round. So I'm going to follow that shape. She also had very little fat in her jaw area. So I'm going to go with that. And she had a little bit more fat in her chin. So I'm going to add more red once I'm done with this. So the shape underneath of her, I'm going to use this dark brown. The shape underneath her cheeks, her jawline it's a very prominent shape. So it's much like her forehead has that kind of halo shape. Her jawline had the same thing. It was very soft. So you would shape it kind of like this with the yellow, because like I said, she does not have a lot of fat in her jawline, but she does in her chin. So you would kind of shape it like a goatee, but like the lips are here. So it circles the chin and carries up into the jaw. Kind of like that. And get rid of this. And then get back into it. Right. I'm going to actually set my subcolor to red so I can just bounce him into it. There we go. I do like that. I am going to add a little bit of red closer to the inner corners of her eye, because she has what I personally call crybaby face, where she looks like she's just about to cry all the time. It's not always prominent, but it's a very unique face structure. Okay, next I'm gonna work into the blue, and for her, I would put the blue here, going from the top of the ear into the eye a little bit, and I'll blend that out. I would also put it directly under the nose, under the lip, and above the lip, like very lightly above the lip, but more saturated towards the corners. And that'll create that sunken in look above the lip. As for her ear, I put blue here to make it look more sunken, and I put red at the top, more saturated obviously, and then I put yellow at the bottom. That's just my go-to for ears in general, so no stress about that. Also, this part of her face, the bridge of her nose into her eyes, there was not a lot of definition there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the blue and I'm going to add it to the eyelid, because that was definitely more defined than anything else on her face. All right. Next is Dim Scum. I found them in a Pride Month UK Glamour magazine article when I was looking for portraits. Their face was a lot easier for me to color zone in my head. It was not easy for me to draw, because I don't even know what their pronouns are. That's so rude of me. Their face is so smooth that it just, I couldn't figure it out. But I definitely saw that their lip area especially was a lot more red, and I'm gonna blend this out this time. Their lips were a lot more red, and that carried into the nose, which was a lot straighter than the others. Get rid of some of that. Straight down. There we go. Straight down. into this corner here because they were also another one that did not have a lot of prominent shape in that nose bridge. We'll also do the cheeks. For them, their cheeks were not rounded. It was very straight down. So we're going to go down with the red rather than go up. Clear out that part right there. And I'm also going to bring it up into their forehead a little bit. I don't want it to be too prominent, but I want it to read as present. Right? And then we're going to take our yellow, and I have my red as my backup color, and we're going to go, we're going to go in with the yellow in a very square shape, because their forehead was not very round either. It was very square, very boxy. Then I'm going to take that yellow and I'm going to pull it down the bridge of their nose. For them specifically, also for them, I'm going to take that yellow and I'm putting it right under the eye. And I'm going to carry it down into the cheek. Right? Like that. I'm also going to do that to their jawline, carrying some yellow under the lip, there and there, and at the base of the chin. Not the whole chin, just the bottom. Then I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to put it in the areas that I did before. They had a very deep set smile, meaning that the corners of their cheeks kind of sucked in more. And I'm going to take it and put it right under their bottom lip as well. I'm also going to take it and put it under their nose. And in the ends of their eyes, right there. Also, if you really wanted to, you could take it and put it here. You could take blue and put blue up in here if you wanted to. I typically do that for people that are white, because their foreheads have a bit more of a slope to them, so I use that blue to push that back, especially if they're facing front. I use the blue to push it back and bring the yellow in to pull their brow forward a little bit. Especially if that's their feature set. That's kind of how I do that. Next is this young man who I could not tell if he was Southeast Asian, South Asian, or Indian. He had a very, like, ambiguous look to him. But he had very pretty eyes, so he caught my attention. Anyway, so we're going to take the red, as always, and we're going to start with the red. And he is a special case because he has this very pronounced jawline. So we're going to take the red and carry the red how we would normally do it. Down that jawline and up into the cheeks. We're going to do the nose as well, and we'll clear out the nose in a second. We're going to add it here and here. And then we'll take it and we'll clear out the nose. So if you notice, I left it connected in that middle area because the shape of his nose was very angular. Like it wasn't curved and it wasn't big and prominent, but it was very angular. I don't know the word for that, but it was very deep set in the middle, but not so much on the other parts. Okay. I think that is all the red that I would do. And I'm going to move on to the yellow. So yellow I'm going to put under this part of his eye, because aside from a very few small wrinkles, that skin under his eye was very tight. I'm going to carry that into his cheek in this kind of triangular way. I'm also going to put it on his forehead. And his forehead was a little smaller, so I'm going to pull the yellow up a little sooner than I would for others. So if you noticed, I would pull it up at the peak of their eyebrow. His forehead was not shaped like that, and will never be shaped like that because he's a whole different human being. So I'm going to pull it up further, like that. And I'm going to erase away the kind of curve that area. There we go. And I'm going to add a very small amount of yellow, very small amount of yellow here and under his lip. There and there. I'm also going to add red to his upper lip. And the rest of it, oh wait, actually I'm going to add yellow here and here, because that skin was very taut as well. The rest of it is blue. Now, this is the first older man that I'm doing, so I'm going to show you guys how I portray the, what is the word? Facial hair. It's not 5 o'clock shadow, but it's not full facial hair, you know? It's just kind of very light. Like, it's kind of peach fuzz, but kind of not. That kind of facial hair. Typically you'll see it in a lot of older men that are past puberty, where they have that. Also, I put the blue in the hollows of his cheek to show that they are very deep set. You can see it very, very pronounced here. But I'm going to take that blue and I'm going to carry it over the areas where he has facial hair. Under the lip, like so. Over the lip because he has the mustache. And I'll even carry it down and connect it to the chin, like so. And kind of soften out the sharp angles. Then we're going to add a little bit of blue here at the very apex of the hood of his eye. We're going to add blue there and there. And then again, blue in the temple to make that stand out a little bit more. And actually I'm going to softly carry that up into the eyebrow. And I think that is all I would do for him. Maybe even add a little bit of red to the bottom lip. Especially fuller lips, you're going to want to add red because fuller lips tend to have more blood flow than thinner lips. Which this guy has thinner lips, so you'll see what I mean. Now this guy has like full facial hair. It is like thick and full and manicured, so you're not going to see the same blue that you see on this younger gentleman. Again, another one where I could not find a name for him, but he is an older gentleman, which helps a lot in showing that you can do color zoning with older people, older folks. So I'm going to do the nose as I always do. Gonna clear out the areas that I know are much thinner and don't have as much blood flow. His cheeks were very low. They were very low and very baggy. And I'm going to actually blend it since I saturated it so much. I'm going to blend it upward. Right? We're also going to hit his ear because his ear is showing. And we're also going to hit these bags under his eyes. Those were also very, very prominent. I'm going to soften it out a little bit. And then I'm going to do it again with the smaller bags under his eyes. Just like that. And that is pretty much all the red that I'm going to add to his face. Next, I'm going to do the yellow. And at this point, on his face specifically, it's going to be me mostly switching between yellow and blue. So, the yellow is definitely going to be in the forehead. There's not a lot of red there. The skin is very thin, but it's still very much connected to the body. We're going to have yellow here. And here. We're also going to have yellow at the very tip of the nose and in here in the inner corner of the eye. But you can kind of tell it's waning away a little bit. And then next is just straight blue. We're going to add blue under the cheeks of the eyebrow, of under the apples of the cheeks, under the lip. We're going to switch to yellow and add a little bit of yellow there. We're going to add blue up here where this line is. There was a very deep set wrinkle that he had going there. Then we're going to add it a little bit here. Kind of might set to, yeah, okay. Clear that out a little bit. Next is, and this is one of the smallest details that I tend to pay attention to, is the lid of the eye. Oh, it's cited when I got to the small details I wanted to say. Cool. I add a combination of blue and yellow because it's so deep set there. Next, I'm going to add more concentrated blue above the lip and concentrated yellow below the lip. Like I said, you really aren't going to be adding much around the beard area because he has full facial hair, so it's very much covered. And then you have that. Next step is to just add the skin tones. We already did Evan's skin tone. I'm going to do hers, and her skin, she had makeup on, but I could tell that her skin was a little bit more flushed, a little bit more in the reddish zone, like that. Yep. Her skin tone was a lot lighter than Evan's. It was kind of in a caramel. No. It's kinda in a, yep, that's the one. All right. There we go. I'm also going to set this layer to clipping. This way it's clipped to the people's skin. So we're not going to lose it. It's just going to be clipped to their skin. Dim Scum had a more, like a warmer skin tone. Like it was pale, but it's warmer. So I'll say maybe here. Yeah. Dim Scum also had like a lot of makeup on. And I'm not messing with the makeup. We're just talking about skin and color zoning. This guy had a very creamy, caramely skin tone. There we go. Right, and then this guy was clearly either native or Latino. So his skin had a bit more of a reddish hue. Maybe. I think that's the one I'm going to go with because that's the one I keep coming back to. Right. I'm going to fix this. And then we're going to set it back to overlay and set the opacity to 35. And zoom out and see that we have all of this going on. We have a lot of color tones going on. I'm going to go through and actually like white the eyes so that they don't look terrifying. But we do have a lot going on as far as these faces go. They're all very unique and all very different. And you can tell that they are because of how they look, for one, but how we color zoned them. A lot of them had a lot less fat in their face, and a lot of them had a lot more going on as far as like facial details. There we go. All right. One last thing before I go, I will say, we need to address this. Evan in this picture does have acne, and acne falls under, making acne look believable falls under the color zoning thing. So just add red around where the acne spots are, and it just makes it look more believable. Because it shows that that's like an irritation, because that's all acne is like an irritation on the face. So I also think she was darker than that. That's the last thing that I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna fix her skin and then I'm gonna hop off. Blech. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Just gotta add her eyes back. Add her eyes back. And we're done. There we go. I hope this was super helpful, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and I will talk to you guys next week for another video. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye!